Hey, what's up guys, Chris here, back with the video. So today in the rumor mill over at FujiRumors.com, there's talk of two potential Fuji X-H cameras coming out in 2022. Now this is kind of interesting to me. There's not a specs, there's nothing listed in specs wise, so I'm just kind of speculating on a lot of this stuff right now. So kind of keep that in mind. I expect the X-H2 when it comes out to kind of be a direct competitor with something along the lines of the GH6, which I know I've taken a lot of heat over the GH6, my comments about the possibility of the L mount. A little more research, it seems to me that it's going to be a Marker 4/3. I was just kind of hoping, man, you know, that's all. I was hoping that it was going to be L mount because I like the idea of an APS-C camera with L mount. I really do. I think that's a great idea. Personally, my personal opinion. And there's already lenses that are built specifically for it. So anyways, let's get into the X-H2. Here I've got the X-T4 and I'm shooting again at Panasonic S5. A little bit of new studio kind of setup here I kind of like. But the Fuji X-H2 could be, like I used to shoot originally, before I bought this, I actually traded the X-H1 in on this. I thought that was a really great camera. Now, why is it important? I guess the video capabilities of this camera. You know, IBIS is a big thing for video. Granted, a lot of these companies don't really do IBIS all that well, especially Sony. It works well for photography, but it's not so much for video. But with this X-T4, they've kind of got the video down a little bit better. And you know, if you put all these like super high-end video features, 4K 120, you know, 6K video, maybe even 8K video in these things, you know, these things are going to be like superly competitive against full-frame cameras. And then, you know, you throw, you know, a $2,500 price tag, yeah, that's up there in price. But the GH6 is probably going to be around $2,500, right? That's what the rumor mills are saying right now, that it's going to be about $2,500. So I think that when I look at something like the GH6 versus the X-H2 and the X-H2, and I compare it to something like potentially, you know, A7 Mark IV, Canon R6, you know, it still is a different category in my opinion. You know, so when you look at those cameras, I see A7S III type specs in these GH6 and X-H2 cameras compared to, you know, you're going to get specs, basically the same specs that this camera has, right? In the A7S III, or sorry, A7 Mark IV and the Canon R6. You get basically the same video type specs. I think you'll see a flip out screen in the X-H2, just to kind of, you know, again, to more compete with, you know, what Panasonic is doing with their GH6. Now for the second camera, I expect this to kind of be a competitor with something along the lines of the X-T30. That's my X-T10, X-T20. That's my kind of prediction on this. I think you'll see it going to be a, you know, an H10, something along those lines. And I think that's, you know, pretty good idea. A budget level, I guess. When you look at because the X-T30 Mark II might be coming out again, I think that's more of a photography-based system, like a, you know, street photography. I would love to, if I was ever into street photography, to be honest with you, the camera that I would buy would probably be an X-T30 or, you know, X-T30 Mark II that's coming out next week, this coming week, or next week, in the next couple of days. That's probably the camera I would buy if I was ever getting into street photography. It's not something I'm really all that interested in. To be honest with you, also, my phone is good enough. I don't really do street photography for any kind of like notoriety or anything like that. So I do expect that if these two cameras do come out. Now the rumor for the X-H2 has been rumored for years now. The X-H1 came out, it was kind of, for its time, I believe that it was overpriced because it competed directly with the A7 III, which I don't think that should be their focus point on that, because you put the exact same specs, basically 8-bit video. You know, I guess it did have 10-bit, the X-H2, but you know, 4K 30 maxed out. You know, and you didn't have autofocus system that would compete with a A7 III at the time, and then you were still selling the camera for over $2,000. You know, body alone. That camera came out, and it didn't last very long, and And I think the problem, I think Fuji probably got impatient with that camera, I suppose. You know, and it wasn't until like the X-T3, X-T4 came out that, you know, Fuji really started kind of catching the eye of the video folks out there, you know. It's always been a great photography camera, you know, and when they came out with that camera, I think it was 2018. I want to say it was 2018 when that camera came out, if I'm correct. You know, and later that year, the X-T3 came out, and they put 4K 60 10-bit video in it. And you're looking at the X-H1 already, and you're like, and the IBIS isn't all that great. So it was already kind of like, I mean, they almost shot it dead on arrival once the X-T2 came out. So if they're going to come out with the X-H2 in 2022 and make this completely, you know, video-centric camera, you know, 4K 120 frames per second, maybe you get 6K video, maybe you get 8K video, whatever it is, and you're going to have it compete directly with something along the lines of the GH6 rather tthan try to compete against the A7 III at the same price tag with the same basic specs. I think that was a bad, you know, way to start. So I think in the future, it might be just a little bit better idea for them to kind of focus on a very, very much more photo-centric or video-centric camera and then create, you know, almost a whole new genre with the GH6, you know what I mean? I mean, the GH5 was obviously a very highly video-centric, and for the time, you know, well, it was, you know, the GH5 Mark II as well. But I think in today's, like, you know, high-end video specs for these cameras, you know, 4K 120, maybe even 6K video is probably necessary in some situations for these cameras, because, and I'm just talking max specs here too. I'm not really talking about, like, you know, what, I mean, are people actually using 4K 120 in their A7S III all that much? Probably not a whole lot. I mean, yeah, there's probably some cinematic situations where people like to use it, but I mean, I don't imagine that there's a lot of people out there that are going out and buying an A7S Mark III to vlog with. That's a $3,500 camera. You know, I'm not saying that nobody does it, but some people, but I wouldn't recommend that. Like, that's a very expensive camera to be just vlogging with and be running around and throwing bags and, you know, things of that nature. Something you don't really want to be, you know, aggressive with. You know, that is what it is. But anyways, this is my thoughts on the X-H2 potentially coming out, and then maybe an X-H10 maybe in the future. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank y'all for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one.